How y'all doing? Good. What you got?
Questions? We start right here with James Krupia.
Tosh, going back to both the Big Ten championship game and the run fits there, and then how well you guys did against Ohio State. Or were there things that Penn State was doing that just schematically were just unique and different to get those results, and have you adjusted to get back to the results you did have against Ohio State there?
Not a whole lot. They did a good job. At times, just out executed us. Always going to look at what we could do better, starting with me. So, but really not focused on something that long ago. All our focus has been towards the opponent and the task at hand, and really improving ourselves from a holistic self-scout standpoint. Not just the last game, but really the last 10 games we looked at.
Second row on the right here, Eric.
Gosh, it's been a while since we talked to you, so I'll just ask you a basic one. What are you most proud of with this team going 13-0, and obviously specifically your side of the ball?
I'm just proud of the group, how they've responded every week. Trying to attack the process. Individually improve from a fundamental and technique standpoint, which has typically gave us an advantage collectively. The way these guys have performed overall. So. Proud overall, but don't spend a lot of time thinking about how proud we are. We're really thinking about what we can do to improve and grow, try to continue that trend as a dominant defense.
Front row left, Zach.
Ohio State, very talented offense. I imagine it's a little bit easier preparing for them when you have one of your best players, Jordan Birch, available this time. What has he kind of brought to your defense this time around when you're preparing for them?
Well, we're not necessarily going to prepare any differently. When it comes to what personnel is available. In this case, didn't have him last time. Thankful to have him now, and just more so focus on what he can do better individually to help the defense. So that was a huge task at hand. We felt like we got an elite advantage while the opponent was facing and preparing for another opponent. So we again try to address anything that we can improve on individually, and hopefully that shows, come January 1st collectively as a defense.
Back left, Matt.
Not very often you guys play an opponent twice in one season. How valuable is the film the first time around for preparing, and just how do you prepare for a team a second time around?
Well, I think the best thing we can do is, really attempt to strengthen the things that we did well at, and then be curious about the things where we faltered, starting with me. What can I do better as far as calling the game, putting our guys in the right situation. That might be manipulating a coverage, might be doing something a little different up front, or, again, go back to what we did successfully and try to apply that again, possibly. They're a good offense, respect Chip a lot, from a schematic standpoint, what he does, and they do a great job game planning. So, the way they attacked Tennessee was extremely different than the way they attacked us, and preparing in that fine line of giving your guys the tools that we feel like can help for our success, but at the same time not doing too much.
Front left, James.
We saw Kingston in the conference title game in a pretty big role there on third downs against Warren, especially compared to what he was doing earlier in the season. How did he put himself in that position? How do you feel he did? And if he has to be called upon in this game, whether it's against Scott or Tate, your confidence in him against those kind of guys?
Well, it's a great example of a young man that continues the process of improving every week. So here we are in the marquee, at that time, the biggest game of the year. And, he instilled the confidence in his teammates and his coaches that he's earned the right to go contribute. And so had no reluctancy about putting him in. He prepared, throughout the season and improved. And you can really start to see, some young talented freshmen things start clicking, understanding of leverage and coverage, understanding of where he's fit in the run game, and felt like he earned that right. And he, for the most part, did a nice job with, helping us accomplish his job, his specific role in that game.
Middle left.
Hey, John Adams, KGW in Portland. It'll be a number of weeks since your last game that you've played. How do you make sure the defense is ready to go and sharp come January 1st after the layoff?
Yeah, the only thing I can say in regards to that is the way we practice, So we had an extremely physical week. last week. Practicing the right way, the thud mechanics, the physicality, tackling in space, there's no substitution for the game. So it's how we practice, how we prepare, and got to continue that trend this week if we're going to be successful come Wednesday.
Back right, Aaron.
How important will it be just to pressure Ohio State's quarterback, and what role will that kind of play in the success of the defense?
Yeah, I think it's always going to be important, when a successful team with the weapons they have. So, there was a philosophy going in, and we felt like the last time we played him, that was a goal of ours to affect him, and right down to the end. So if you look at that last drive, and there's going to be things where we apply our game plan, and there's going to be some things that we just apply our identity. And we want to pressure a quarterback. We want to mentally and physically assault him in any way possible within the rules of the game. And so that's going to be important, regardless of who we play, but especially a team with the arsenal that they have on the offensive side of the ball.
Second row on the left, Chris.
Yeah, Nico Reed has becomes just such a valuable player for you guys. What are your thoughts on the season that he's had, and how did he kind of become the player that he's been this year?
Another great example, man, of a guy just trusting and believing in the process. His improvement has been just awesome. To see him, the way he competes day in and day out, and he knows, that the challenge to him is when he puts together great bodies of practice and finishes to a standard. That typically shows up on game day as well. So the main thing that jumps out, he's always been an extremely competitive individual. The belief and knowledge within the scheme, of how he's applying his technique, and then just his ability to cobra finish on a consistent basis. It's been really cool to see his improvement.
Back left, Matt.
Tosh, yourself, other coaches always talk about striving to improve every week and getting better. Where is this team defensively better and different than you were mid-October when you guys played Ohio State? For yourself, your defense.
I think I believe that was Game 6, and certainly, man, there's the lay of the land of college football. There was individuals contributing in that game, starting in that game, that reported in the summertime. And so just the confidence of the system. The confidence of when and how to utilize specific fundamentals and technique per call. That's the exciting thing. When you get into this. Into a 14th game of the season where you start to see that confidence. Nico's a great example of that. DJ Harmon's a great example of that. BJ, some guys that start to really play with a chip on their shoulder and a confidence and understand, the specifics of every call.
Back middle, Brett.
Coach obviously experienced in the college football playoffs. This is new territory for this Oregon football team. But for one player that does have that experience is Jabbar, obviously, with Washington last year. What's it been like having him not only this season for you guys, but also for the last couple of weeks to have that player that can kind of speak to what this moment is like?
Yeah, I think Jabbar's really a lead by action guy. So don't ask him to do more than that. And he's someone that's just, he plays with confidence. He knows who he is. He's defended some extremely challenging, throws and routes throughout the season. He's a guy that finishes well on the ball. And I think, other guys feed off of that confidence as well. So, we don't ask anybody to talk about it. We ask them to be about it, and we want everybody to lead by action.
Back right, Aaron.
How beneficial was the bye for you in preparing for this game?
I think, be able to better answer that in the evening time of January 1st.
We're going to go second row on the left, Eric.
I want to ask you about Matteo and the year he's having and just the production, but also it seems like he's really kind of grown up this year. Can you speak to that and kind of your perspective kind of behind the scenes, kind of seeing that happen?
Yeah, I think another perfect example of, what you put in is what you put out. Mateo's a guy we got to kick out of the building, constantly, trying to watch film, whether up here in the building, on his iPad, constantly challenging how he can do better. And he's a student of the game. I think he's rare in the sense from a mental side of things of understanding back end and how certain things tie in with his technique, especially at that position. So The guy is, versatile, but he's worked for it. I think Coach Camaragi has done an elite job, with the development too, with our edge guys and, tying in just how everything is more so the why behind it, not just your specific job. Matteo's a great example of that. So, a big challenge to him. If you look at last season as a true freshman, he had somewhere in the range of 7 to 8 possible sacks. I think he ended up with 3. So a big offseason attack was the finish. That was his point of attack. And then for him to lead this conference in sacks, over some of these potential first rounders in this draft, I think it's an exciting thing, for him to, see his work come to life, come game day.
Front left, James.
While in Tuscaloosa, you had a lot of receivers to match up with defensively that were future first-round guys. What is it that makes Jeremiah Smith unique in that way and even stand out compared to some of the many that you've crossed paths with over your career?
Yeah, I mean, similar to whenever that was 7, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, and then the time in the NFL, iron sharpens iron is what we live by. So whether it's that or what we face every single day here, the spark of Tez, our whole crew, our tight ends, Trey, Sean, the guys, everybody that steps out on the field, the guys that we're asked to defend every day is a great advantage for us on a weekly basis. So they got great skill players. We see great skill players every day. We know that there's a task at hand that we got to go attack, and thankfully facing our offense, we get to see, some first rounders every day ourselves.
Back left, Matt.
Boss is on pace to play his fewest snaps per game since his freshman year, and yet he's playing really well. The defense is playing really well, and I realized early on in the year he was hurt, and that really played a factor. But how is that meshed together where he's playing good, his snaps are down, and your defense is playing really well, and he's such an integral part to the defense?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't agree as far as last game's rep count. He was our rep count leader. But he's somebody that, we're going to ask a lot of, thankful to have him. And, the communication that he offers our defense to align and assign, and just like everybody else, we're going to challenge him, man. You just got to do your job. Don't got to do anything else. That's what we're looking for. That's what the next level's looking for. So to simply make the tackle, in your gap, utilize our alignments as weapons and, give us 6 seconds of hell when the ball snapped.
We're going to go to the Zoom. Got time for a couple of questions. Let's start with Ryan Clark. Ryan, you need to unmute yourself.
Hey, Tosh. Just had a follow-up on Bossa there. What can you say about his leadership throughout this season, and then how valuable that vocal and by example leadership has been leading into a game of this magnitude?
Yeah, I mean, biggest challenge, is I want everybody to be leading by action. So it all starts there. It starts with doing your job. Part of our linebackers' job is to align our defense. So you look at the last game we played these guys. I think there's a rhyme and reason why there's so many shifts and motions and pre-snap, activity going on. So that's the challenge of us to try to offer the multiple looks and perhaps some looks that we haven't seen yet, by this opponent, but just to keep cycling through. So it starts with Bossa to align us. But to get us in the right position. So thankful for his communication skills, and just like this morning as we went to work, that's always the challenge at that position.
Nick Hamilton, can you unmute yourself?
Hey, Coach. I want to ask you just about Emeka, what makes him such a dynamic threat, especially to your defense, and how have you seen him grow since the last time you guys played each other?
Say that again.
How had Emeka, as far as him being such a dynamic threat to your defense as far as receiver, what have you seen from his growth since the last time you guys have played one another?
I think we're going to try to do our best to study, from a route tree standpoint, what they do best, and then have answers for it. So I think, when you apply extra attention somewhere with a team like this, you can really be hanging out elsewhere. So we want to do some things, possibly manipulate some coverages to assist. But just like the last game we played, when you put too much attention towards one individual, you tend to open up some warts elsewhere. So we're going to do our best not to repeat that process.
It's all the time we have with Coach. Thanks, Tosh. Appreciate it.
Okay, you guys have a good one. Appreciate you.